Hello everyone, Catchy13 here with Catchy Gaming, and this is part 6 of Run Like Hell. So we start off with Nick having another dream. About the various aliens and a bunch of soldiers being slaughtered by them. They touch on this, and I'll just say it right now, this isn't just a dream, it's a premonition, just like at the very, very beginning of the game, in the prologue, when he had the vision of the shuttle carrying the aliens invading the station. It then transitions to Sam in a bunch of goo. And it's kind of risque, but I guess I'll show it, because there's some tentacles and she's in her underwear. But it's Nick having a dream that she's being taken over by the alien beings in some shape or form, which we've already established that's kind of their thing. So it's no surprise to anyone that something bad's happening to her. Now, I'm not sure if this is a dream or if this part is a premonition, unlike the last part with the soldiers. Nick wakes up and Jesse tells him that his father went out, and Nick has a little bit of his anger temper management, along with one of the quickest turnarounds I have ever seen in terms of someone realizing they were a complete and total dick.
Well, the doctors are in the main room, and my father went out to...
Went out? What the hell was he thinking?
He went prepared.
Prepared? It was irresponsible to go out alone. Why the hell did he leave?
He wanted to check out Haven to see if more survivors called in.
He shouldn't be playing hero. Damn it, we've lost Dag. If we lose Niles, we might as well call it quits. I'm sorry, kid. It was just your dad was wrong. I'm sure he'll be okay.
I'd also like to point out that they only have one bed for everybody. I'm not entirely sure how that works. It might just get a little awkward. I don't know. Dr. Mech made a bit of a discovery, and I'm just going to let this cutscene play.
It took me some time, but I think I figured out the biology of these creatures. Look at this. I've never found this thing's central brain because I was looking in the wrong direction. I started looking at the joints where the human arms can be fused to their flesh. That's when I figured it out. Instead of a central brain, each joint is a brain node. Take them all together and you get a collective intelligence. And that's what confuses me. The only things like it are large reptiles, but even those have a central brain.
So they have a collective intelligence?
That's what I thought until you brought in Tall, Thin, and Ugly over there. He seems to have a central intelligence.
This is all very interesting, Doctor. But I only have one question. How do I kill them?
You can try shooting each node, but I don't think even you could get that close before they tore you apart.
I think you'd be surprised, Doctor.
At no point will you ever need to aim at the nodes, because all you do is target things and pull the trigger, and it dies. Nifty part of the story doesn't translate to the gameplay in any shape or form, unfortunately. I think the technology just quite wasn't there at the time. But then again, Resident Evil 4 exists, and they had points in certain enemies you had to shoot in order to kill it, so I don't know. And Dr. Fred's being creepy as hell, getting a little too chummy with the amalgamator. I mean, it's obvious what they're setting up. And when you cast the guy that plays Chucky, the evil villain in a lot of movies, typecasting exists for a reason. They were just a little too on the nose with this one. Dallas returns from the guard post in Haven, the same one that we keep going to constantly, letting them know that there's a broadcast from a ship, the SS Hugin. With that, Nick sets out to go to the guard post himself. So it just involves more shooting again, but I like to point out, because I failed to mention it last time, that the color changed again for the cutters, and they changed their appearance again on this one. They're a little bit smoother, a little bit more armor-plated looking. Again, a lot of this is just aesthetics. Just increasing the damage in weapons will more than take care of that, and especially when you haven't fitted ammo in your rifle, not much of an issue. Now, I failed to mention I did start a laser, and they actually continued this laser from a previous chapter. And here it is. It will almost one-shot you if it doesn't one-shot you. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to really affect the cutters in any shape or form. It looks like it hit it, but I was also shooting at the same time. And I'm guessing it really doesn't do anything to them, which seems like a bit of a lost opportunity to... When Nick gets to the guard post, he talks with an officer on the ship, but they tell him they can't board the ship due to the shields being up, and if they try, they're gonna die horribly. So Nick has to find a way to bring it down. That's when Niles calls, letting Nick know that Jesse has been in touch with a friend who just so happens to be a hacker located in the detention center. So yay, we get a new cast member to replace Dag. Hopefully she doesn't shoot at Nick. I think I said that was the last time I was going to use that joke. Well, I lied. Nick then receives a transmission from the station commander. Now, I touched on this last time where I said the animators did the storytellers or writers dirty, and that tradition continues. For my eagle-eyed viewers, they can clearly see a bit of an issue with his shoulders, particularly around his head sticking above the bottom of the screen, as well as having the camera centered at his chin. I mean, it's kind of obvious, along with the stilted acting, which I blame the director in that case, that there's something wrong with the commander. And with the whole entire thing that we've seen with the amalgamator attaching limbs, I think it's pretty obvious that people can put two and two together from this cutscene alone. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it's pretty obvious. With that, Nick heads for the detention center. With that, he returns to the habitation deck, aka where all the quarters are, and the return of the Bawls vending machines. Yay! I still am sitting on 6 bottles at the point of this recording. Not entirely sure what to do with them other than drink them, but I don't want to because they're really gross. Anyways, when you go back to Nick's quarters, you come across a recording of Sam and Nick on vacation, and they really, really, really like putting her in that underwear for everything. But damn, look at those creepy ass hands now that I get a better look at them. It's like watching something out of Reboot. But I don't really get the point of this other than to show that they were in a relationship, which we already know, and just makes Nick sad again. Which brings me back to going through all the quarters, and we get to Dag's quarters, and you see a Bowflex right there, which is just absolutely hilarious. But then you get to pick up the boat thrower. That's its name, not what it's called. Just remember that. He named it Bolt Thrower. Along with a whole bunch of ammo on a shelf just sitting out in the open. This is the only time and place you will be able to get ammo for this gun. And unfortunately, it's the only real point in time in which the gun's even remotely useful or even necessary. Because they do make you use it. So this is where I meant I got a little stuck. At these pile of boxes here. And I mainly got stuck due to not knowing that there was a secondary fire on the weapons because I did not look at the control scheme. I just pushed buttons until I figured it out. And I also didn't have an instruction booklet. If I did any of that, I would have gotten through this a little bit sooner, but I wasted a lot of time. Like, how do we get by these boxes? Turns out you have to use Bolt Thrower's secondary fire. You do need to be a little bit careful here because this can happen. Don't even know what happened exactly other than a big explosion. Considering I didn't see anything that went boom on the other side of all that fleshy mound, and I've shot the boxes with the bolt thrower and they didn't cause them to explode, so I was just utterly confused as to why that happened. After pulling off a Metal Gear Solid imitation with the Nikita missile and blasting those boxes and finally being able to progress, Nick makes it to the detention center. This is where you have to activate a whole bunch of panels and rotate a platform in order to get to the cell where the person you're trying to get to is located. It's a bit of a pain in the butt, and there's not much going on here other than a bunch of shooting. This is where you meet Jinx, sort of. For anyone who remembers or even paid attention to the prologue, you can see Jinx there as well. Jinx then goes on to complain about Nick taking forever to rescue her, even though he never knew she was down here. And her excuse is, I've been watching you for days. Shakespeare. In terms of the writing there. Makes total sense that Nick would know to come get you when you're watching him via the monitors that you hacked in your cell. I also found the last part for a gun I get to put together that I primarily used outside of my assault rifle. It's a electric energy beam weapon that's supposed to hit multiple targets, but doesn't quite always hit multiple targets. It sort of just does it whenever it wants to. Now, I'm not sure if this is due to emulation, because I could have sworn it did it more reliably on the Xbox. But like I said, it's on the Xbox 360, so who knows? So after more fighting and backtracking, you get Jinx to the guard center in Haven, and she brings down the defenses so that the Marines can land in their landing ship. And like I said, it wasn't a surprise that what Nick was dreaming was a premonition. They never touch on it ever again for the rest of the game, or even mention it. So yeah, it was just like a one-to-one cutscene with a filter on it to make it dream-like. But yeah, it was the exact same thing, which I guess in terms of him having premonitions, it works. Anyways, the station defenses go back up and they start to target the ship that's coming in that they were hoping to rescue them. And I might point out again that the station's covered in goo, and I'm not entirely sure how. Anyways, the alien goo forms a cannon and takes out the ship that's trying to get away, dashing any hope of rescue coming to get them, mainly because of what would follow due to the nature of that ship being destroyed. Anyways, that's it for the chapter. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Have a good one.